Hello everyone, hope you all are doing good. And in the previous video of our Salesforce plus WhatsApp integration series, we talked about how we can send the messages with the help of our templates. Different kind of templates we have created, where we have seen how we can dynamically pass the values with the help of variables. So here in this video, we are going to set up the object where we are going to store the messages, because now we are able to configure the webhook. We are able to listen the message, and the message is getting logged into the debug log. Now let's quickly, we'll go ahead, set up a object, and in that object we are going to store the messages. And this object will be useful going ahead to implement our LWC, where we are going to implement the chat details, where the users are going to chat. The users who are within Salesforce, they will be chatting with the users, basically the customers who are outside of Salesforce, with the help of this API. So how we will do is, that's what we are going to see here in this video. And before we go ahead, please give it a like, subscribe, press the bell icon so that you don't miss any updates. Now let's see what we are going to do here. I have created a message. There is an object called WA message, which says that WhatsApp message. The object does not have any custom field so far, and the basic setup of this object is like this. Object has a API name of WA message without any space, and then I have created a tab for this object, and the name field of this object, which is auto number, and you can keep it as auto number, and you can put any kind of pattern that you want to use for your auto number field. Now let's talk about what are all the fields that we wanted to create here. So what I have done is, I've already added these. If you remember in the previous videos when we tested this webhook, we had some debug logs. We had a couple of debug logs. Now those are the debug logs I have opened as a part of code beautifier JSON viewer. Okay. Now here I have got three different debug logs. Three different debug logs means, one where we are sending the message. This is the one which where we as a customer are sending a message to a user, and the user, not user, basically to the number, and the number is this, which is our business number. Okay, that our sales representatives be looking into the screen when there is a message coming up. Okay. So what we have seen is, okay, there is a top object. We don't really need this field. And then we have got entry. This is again an array of objects. Under that array, we've got an ID. We'll be needing this ID. This could be different or this could be same. Okay. Under that ID, not ID. After that ID, we've got another object, which is again another variable, which is again an array of objects. And this array of object contains some value. Okay, value is again an object which contains everything within it. Okay, we see everything is there within value object. Then we have got some metadata. Then we basically wanted to store this number, two number. This is the number which we wanted to store, or we can even ignore this number because some sort of reasons. If you want, we can store. Let's quickly go ahead and create this number. Then we'll say business account, business phone number. Okay, so let's go to our object and click on new, and we will use here. The reason we are creating this field and the reason we will be needing that value is, say that your business has multiple phone numbers. So how you're going to segregate which message is coming to which number? That is why we wanted to create this field, so that we can store that number. So we'll select the type phone and we'll click on next. I believe you already know how to create a field, so we can just go ahead and create a field. So we've just created a field called business phone number. Now let's quickly talk about another thing here. We got this business phone number. Okay, that is definitely we need this metadata. Then under contacts, we need to know which particular user is sending us the message, right? The customer name basically. Then we also need to know the customer phone number, from which phone number the customer is sending. So that means we have got two new fields, customer name and customer phone. So let's get back to our field again, or not field, our custom object, and create two new fields. Now we are done with the customer name and customer phone fields. Let's talk about what other fields we need to create now. So if we scroll down here below messages, there is a ID which we really need. This ID is going to be the ID which we are going to identify either the user has sent a reply to this message or a user has sent a reaction. Okay, so we'll create a message ID which is going to be again unique for us. Or let's quickly first compare this ID field here, line number 5. If we get back to others, let's see if it is same for us. Yeah, so it is same for all. So this ID is going to be unique for us. So we'll monitor this ID, not monitor, we will make this ID as an external ID. Okay, we need this one, and then we need the timestamp when the customer has actually sent the message. That means a date time field. And then the body, what the message has been like, what is the message which has been sent to a customer. So let's quickly create those like three fields: the message ID, which is going to be external ID, then the body, which is going to be a text area. Let's quickly make it as text area rich. Okay, because customer might wanted to send some images like that. We'll see how the response we are getting. And then there is a date time field. We'll say message sent date. Okay, message sent time. So let's quickly create those three fields. So this is a message ID field which I wanted to make sure it is an external ID, and the length is 255, the maximum length which a text field can have. Now I'm creating this text area rich field which is basically going to be message. So we'll say message content. Okay, and before this rich text area field, I have already created message sent time. So you also need to create that field, which is again a type of date time. So here you can see we have got message content, rich text area, message ID, text external ID, message sent time, which is a type of date time. So this is what we have got here now. Now then again, if you get back here and we get we see there is a type which says that what type of the text is. So let's quickly create that message as this type, and we will create we will not give it as a pick list. We will say that it is a type of text. Okay, so now we need one more field. We will say type, that is again a type of text, and here I'm going to give it as message type. If you wanted to make it as type, or you can just relate it based on your, but I would suggest use this message type, which is giving us the clear picture, the clear message about the field, what kind of field it is. Okay, so now we have saved this. Now there is one thing, this was the simple message we have read, and we based on this message we have created the fields. Now let's talk about the message where the user has replied to. Okay, the user has replied to a message. So we sent a message to a particular user from a Salesforce using business API. Then the user has replied to that message. So how it will look like is, if you see all these things are okay, these are good, there is one more object we got here called context, which is giving from number, like the message was sent from, and then the ID of that message. So what we will do is we are going to create a parent message ID field, which is going to be a type of text, so that we can store, if whenever there is a reply on the message, we will easily get to know if there is a parent ID field on the record. That means the message was sent as a part of a reply to another message. So let's quickly create that here. We'll go ahead and click on new, and we'll select a type of text, and I'm giving the label as parent message ID. Again, the length is 255. So we have got that parent message ID field as well. Now this is the second message which we have got, which was a type of reply. Now there is a third message where a user is reacted. So the type will be reaction over here, and again then we'll see we got this ID, right? Then reaction, you'll see there is an object called reaction. Under that we'll see message ID. Again, this is a parent message ID for which message the user has reacted to. Now this is a emoji that user has reacted. So let's quickly create one more field called reaction. Okay, and then we will be again making it as a part of text. Okay, so let's quickly create a new field, and we'll select data type of text, and we'll make it as reaction. Again, let's quickly give the length of 10, not more than that. Yeah, so the reason I'm just trying to walk you through with the response and giving you the idea on how we are creating this, so that you get to know, okay, how exactly the object was set up. I could have been came up with these fields and say that, hey, create these fields where we are going to store this. This could not have been a good idea. So that's why I'm just walking you through all with this, so that you can also get the understanding of how the object structure is there from JSON, how we are mapping it in our custom object. Now let's quickly do one thing. I have already turned the debug log on for my particular website, for my digital experience to the guest user. Now here what I will do is I will actually try to send a message from my mobile phone number, which is a type of image or some other type. Okay, so I have sent a message which is a type of image, and I wanted to see what would be the outcome of this particular message, and based on that we might need to create one more field. You could also try by sending documents or videos and see what kind of outcome we are getting. Based on that, we definitely need to create new fields on the object. So we are here, we'll just go ahead, as we already have a debug, so we'll just use user underscore debug to find the details, and then I'm going to use code beautifier JSON viewer and paste what here we have got. So now here it is saying that, okay, now we've got type as an image, and there is a new object which we call that is the image, and then there is something we got this SHA-256. This is a image SHA-256. Now we might wanted to explore how we can decode, but for now let's quickly create a new field called image. Okay, and then whenever there is a image object we'll find, we will store image type. There should be two objects, one image type, then one image file, or we'll say image SHA-256, and then one ID. Let's create three fields. Currently we are not bothering about how we can decode this image content and display, but for now we just wanted to store. And similar could be for your video, but we are not looking into the video part so far. So now we've got this. Now there is a class which we developed, so let's go ahead and open the developer console and open that class, which was WhatsApp Webhook listener or something similar to that. Okay, so we have got a class called WhatsApp Webhook. Now we have got our object which is ready here with all the fields we needed so far. Now there is something how we are going to go ahead and store the record into the object whenever there is a webhook coming in. So we'll just go ahead and collapse this, collapse this particular method which is do get. We don't need. This is a method which is actually getting executed whenever the post method is being sent from our webhook, and this is a place where we are actually getting the success message. Now we wanted to parse these JSON file and then store the data into the records. So how we can store, right? So first thing what we'll do is we'll take this particular JSON file, which this JSON file is basically of a file where we are sending a reply to a message. Now I will share the class with you, so if you feel that you are feeling disconnected, you are not able to find this, you can get the class from the comment as well as from the description. Now I will just go ahead and copy this file, copy this JSON file, and then we will search for admin booster. Okay, admin booster JSON to Apex. This is a tool which is going to convert your JSON file into the Apex class. So here what you can say is WhatsApp context or WhatsApp messages. Okay, so this is, we have got WhatsApp message as a class name, and click on generate. So once you click on generate, it is going to give you the complete class for you. So you see there is a static test method which we not bother about. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead, copy the class name, get back to your developer console, click on file, new, and select Apex class. Paste the name of class that you have just copied and click on OK. It is going to create a new Apex class for you. Now again, get back to your admin booster tool, copy all these classes which you have except this method. We don't need this method. Just copy these classes, copy that particular part and go there, paste within your class, and then you can just, you have got your class over here, right? Now this particular object we really don't need, so I'm going to just remove this line particular. Okay, and next thing that we need to do is just copy this public and make sure we are putting the public behind every inner class that we have. If we don't use public, then we will get error while we are doing the parsing. So for now, let's go ahead and do this. Now we have got this. So we've got class entry. Now if you see, there is a, behind every class there is a keyword prepended called CLS underscore. So we don't want it to use. So let's go ahead and remove that as well. So now we have removed those CLS underscores from all the classes wherever it was. Okay, now if you scroll down, you'll see there is some error which says that from. This is a reserved keyword in your Salesforce. So we cannot use from. So what we'll say is from X. And similarly, there is a type keyword which is again a reserved keyword. We will say type X. And again there is a from, so use type X. Right. So now we've got this, and there should be no error. And then there is a method called parse. We also don't want that method, so we'll just go ahead and remove it and then do a control S. Once you do a control S, your class should be saved, your errors should be gone from the problem section. Now we have got this particular class, but this class was only developed based on this particular JSON file. Now if you get back to this JSON file, this is already being covered because this is the JSON response from the response which we are sending a simple message, a text type of message. Okay, so we already have a text class, we already have a type variable which is type X in our Apex class. So if you see here, we have got text type X. Okay, so we can close these two JSON files. Now there is one JSON file which is again a type of reaction. So this is again a reaction. Okay, so what we have to do is, the reaction is an object. If you see, this is starting and closing with a curly braces. So this is an object with two parameters, emoji and message ID. So we have to create a class named reaction. So let's go ahead and create a class here, and we'll say public class reaction. Now it has two parameters. So we'll create public string, and then one parameter is emoji and the other parameter is message ID. So we'll come back here and we'll say okay, go ahead and say public string message ID. Okay, this is again, we have taken care of this particular. Now we have just created a class. Now if you see, this class is within the messages. There is a message which is an array and this is an object. So we have to create a variable of this reaction. So how we will create it? We will get back to this message class and we'll create a variable called public reaction. This is a type of our class, and then the name of variable which is again reaction. Why we are saying reaction? Because this JSON file name itself says reaction. So we'll say okay, go ahead and put it semicolon. Now we are done with this particular JSON file as well. So we can go ahead and close this JSON file as. Now let's come back to this file which is type of image. Now there is a class which we have to create image and with three parameters, right? So let's go ahead and create a class image. Will have three parameters. So again, in the bottom of our class, we will select public class image. Image. It will have three parameters. One is public string mime type. Okay. Another is public string ID, and then another is public string SHA256. We'll just make sure that we are using the correct variable name over here, and yes, that's correct. So now what we did is, we have successfully created a helper class with all the variables of our JSON. Now we converted JSON into our Apex class. Now we've got this class. So how we are going to do this? We will say, okay, let's get back to our class. And here in this class, what we'll say, okay, put the class name, and we will say that message parent message. Okay, we'll say parent message, and we'll again say JSON dot deserialize. Now we wanted to deserialize this string into the a particular class, so we will say deserialize. Okay, now what string we wanted to deserialize? We wanted to deserialize the response which we are getting. So instead of JSON string variable, we put our response. Now on what is the type, what is the target type where we wanted to deserialize? We will say our class name dot class, and put a semicolon. And then if you try to save it, you will get the error. There is one step that we have to do. So let me show you if we are getting that error first, and then we will see how we can resolve that error. Yeah, so you see there is a message, there is an error called illegal assignment from object to WhatsApp message. So why we are getting this? JSON.serialize always returns an object. We have to typecast into a type of our object or class or custom object or standard object. So we'll say yes. What we have to do is we have to use open and closing parenthesis and put the class name. So what we are saying is, okay, deserialize into an object and then convert it into my type, which is message. Okay, now how we are going to read this particular, now we have got this class, right? Now we can easily use a dot notation and read the messages. Then if you get back here, so far we got this particular, this topmost we got it. Now we need to go to entry. Okay, so we'll say, okay, go ahead, and we'll say there is a variable called entry, which is going to be a list of entry object, right? So how we will store? We'll say, okay, we're going to store into the list of WhatsApp message dot, there is a class called entry, and we will say that message entry is equal to this. Now what we said is, okay, whatever the entries that you have got, give us store in this particular list. Now we will see if this message entry is not null and at least have at least one record. So we'll put a condition over here. We'll say message entry is not equal to null and this dot size is greater than 0. If this is the case, we are going to create a new variable of WhatsApp message dot entry. We'll name it as entry message, and we will say, okay, message entries dot get 0, because there is going to be only one record. And why I say there is going to be only one record? Go to JSON file, you will see there is only one entry. Okay, now we are here under entry with this object. Now what we need is, we need changes, right? Because changes is something which contains everything. So we'll go ahead and say, okay, now let's quickly create another object called here. We'll say message, the class name is changes, and now this particular JSON itself says it is an array, so we have to store in a type of list. Okay, and then we'll say that change messages equal to, and then we will say entry message dot changes. Okay, this is what we have got. Now we have got a list of changes. Okay, list of changes. So what we'll do is, okay, we'll say go ahead and again use a if condition, where if this changes is not equal to null. We are just trying to make sure our code is not going to throw any error. So we said if changes is not equal to null and size is greater than 0, then we will say, okay, now we will create a variable and we'll say change message. By doing this particular, by writing this line, we will be here in this object. Now under that object, we need contacts, we need messages, and we don't need anything. Okay, and we also need this business phone number, which is again under metadata. So how we will see, we will say, okay, changes dot value dot metadata dot display phone number. This is what we need, right? So what we will say is, now let's quickly get these messages and these contacts as well. So how we'll get these messages and contacts? So we'll say okay, go ahead, WhatsApp messages dot contacts. Again, this is going to be list, contact list. Okay, first we have to get the value. Yeah, so we'll say change messages dot value dot contacts. Okay, yeah, this is what we will see. And then we also need messages, so we'll say go ahead, copy paste, and here instead of contacts we will say messages, and here we will say messages, and this would be message list. So now we have got contact list, we have got message list. Okay, now if you need some other things like this metadata, we can also have that metadata. So we'll say okay, go ahead, and we will see WhatsApp message dot metadata, and we'll say we'll name it as metadata. Okay, and from where we'll get is we'll get change message dot value dot metadata. So far we have just creating a variable and storing somewhere at where we basically need it. Now here what we need is we need to insert the record. So we'll say that create record into Salesforce. So we are going to create the record. So first thing what we need is we need to go to our object, go to the details, and then get the API name. Now here we need to provide all the values. For example, let's start with the metadata. We'll say Salesforce message dot, we've got business phone number. Okay, and where this business phone number is, this is there inside metadata dot display phone number. Okay, so what we'll say is we'll say go ahead and put metadata dot display phone number. This is, now what we can do is we can say here we can use a ternary operator. We can say metadata is not equal to null. If that is the case, use metadata display phone number, otherwise put null, and we got business phone number. Okay, this is what we have got, and we just basically provided one value of a field. Now we need to populate other values as well. We are going to populate this particular business the customer name and customer phone, and we will get under contacts, and then we will see there is a simple object. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll say okay, then here is something about message contacts. We will say okay, if this contact list, again we are just putting the conditions to make sure there is no such error. Okay, then we are going to get the contact, and then we'll use that contact. Okay, now here what we'll say is okay, Salesforce message dot, we'll get customer phone, and we will get Salesforce message dot customer name. These are the two fields. Now where we will get customer phone and customer name? So customer phone is within this object WAID. Okay, so we'll say go ahead and say contact.waid, and customer name is within another object called profile, and then there is a variable called name. So we'll say okay, we will use customer.profile.name. We have populated contact, customer name, and customer phone. Very good. Now let's go ahead. We wanted to now populate the things related to messages. Okay, so we have to, again this is an array, so we have to get a first element. If this message list is not equal to null and message list dot size is greater than 0, then we are going to get a message. Now we have got this message, so let's quickly see under message what all we have got. So we have got message ID. Okay, we've got message ID, we have got timestamp, message ID, and then we've got timestamp, and we have got type. Okay, and then there is something Salesforce message dot message content, because that is also we are going to get, right? So if there is a text, then we will see there is a text body, so we will go ahead and use text dot body. So how we will say, we will say message dot text dot body if it is a text message. Okay, message ID, how we will get that message ID? We will get message ID is within the ID, so we will say okay, go ahead, message dot ID. Then message type, so we'll say message dot type X. Okay, now there is Salesforce message dot message sent date, right? Message sent time. So the time we are creating a record, we will say message sent time is going to be system dot now. Now this is what we have got. Now what if it is a type of reaction? So how we are going to do that? So what we will say is we will say Salesforce message dot reaction. Okay, and then how we are going to use that? We'll say message dot reaction. Okay, if message dot reaction is not equal to null, if this is the case, then we will say okay, we are going to put something, otherwise we are going to put null. Okay, now what is the variable that we wanted to put here? That we have to check into the class, and the class is WhatsApp message. Under that we have got reaction, and then we have got emoji. Okay, so we have created an emoji, so we'll say message reaction, it should be emoji. And then there is one more variable which we will do is parent message ID, and that we will get in case of if reaction is not null, then there will be message ID variable. Now we have got this is about reaction. Now let's talk about if there is a reply to a particular message. Okay, if there is a reply, then again there should be a parent ID. So how we will say is, we will say okay, Salesforce message dot image ID equal to, we will say message dot image. Oh, we haven't created this image variable within the message object, so we have to go there within the message object. See here, we have missed that putting, so we'll say okay, public image and image. So now what we'll say is okay, message dot image is not equal to null. If that is the case, we'll say message dot image dot ID, otherwise null. And then we have three more fields. One is image type, and one is image SHA. Okay, this one. So here we will say image type is MIME type. So this is going to be MIME type, and then this is going to be SHA 256. Now when the message is image. Now there is one thing, when the message is, if the message is reply. Okay, if the message is reply to another message, what we will get? So for that we will get, there is going to be a context. You can see over here, this is a context. There will be a context, and under that context we will see the parent message ID. Basically we just wanted to know what is a parent message ID. Okay, so we will go here and we will say okay, Salesforce message dot parent message ID equal to, and we'll say if message dot context is not equal to null, then we will say message dot context dot ID, otherwise null. So I've just used ternary operator over here so that we don't get into the multiple FLs. Okay, now here at the end what we need to do is, we need to say okay, go ahead and upsert Salesforce message based on message ID, because message ID is the external ID for our message, and go ahead and save it. So we have just did a very long thing. We did a very long process, like creating an object, parsing the class, and then putting every piece into our Epis class code, and then the time is to test it. Okay, before we test it, I'm going to make this class as without sharing. Okay, the reason I'm making as without sharing, so that it actually works into the system mode and we don't get any error while creating this object, because the webhook is going to work as a part of guest user. Okay, now for the testing purpose, make sure you have turned the debug log on. Once you have turned your debug log on for the guest user, go to your WhatsApp. Okay, go to your WhatsApp, and in your WhatsApp just send a very like simple message. We can say you can just type any simple message. So I have sent a message. Let's refresh this page. Okay, and we will see if we are getting something From a webhook, okay, we got a log size of 35 KB. Hope we are getting a record which is created within Salesforce. So this was just a simple message reply, okay, and we will go there, find for user underscore debug. Okay, we got user underscore debug, we got, okay, below that did we find anything? If you scroll down, you will see there is something op upsert type wa message row 1. Okay, that means there was a message which was created. Now to check this, go to your any application, and from the 9 dots I'm going to search WhatsApp message. I think it should be wa message. This is my tab. Within the lightning, you can see there are recently list view. If I select all, you can see there is message, wa message, and if I open it, I can see all the details over here. I can see the customer, I can see the customer name, business phone number, and then message ID, when this message was sent. This is a simple message. Okay, now let's quickly go ahead and try to reply. So I'm going to reply now. So reply to a particular message which we sent earlier. Okay, so again I've just sent a reply. As we know that our code is working fine, so I'll go ahead again, click on 9 dot, and we'll search for wa messages, and again from recently list view, click on all. You see there is a second message over here, and if you go there, we say this is the message which I replied. Woohoo, I'm so excited. This is a parent message ID. There is no reaction, there is no image type or something else. Okay, now I'm going to react to a message. So I just reacted. I hope my webhook has ran. I will go and search for wa messages, change the list view. Okay, we have got only, okay, there is only 2 records. We'll go there and refresh this. We might have got some error. Yep, you can see here we have got attempt to dereference a null object. Now we have to see what is the error. So it is saying that null object line number 54. Okay, we got under class, which is WhatsApp webhook, method is do post, line number is 54. So let's go to our developer console and scroll down to line number 54. Yep, so here we have says message.text.body, right? So we have to check again, if message.text is not equal to null, then say message.text.body. So we were getting the error, that's why we got it here. Now if you get back here, I am sure the webhook might get retried again. You're just deleting, and we see there is a success. Okay, let's quickly see if that we got our message here. Yep, we got it, right? If you see, we got it. Now if you see here, we got reaction. This is the reaction we did. Now if you see, there is message type which is not getting populated. Okay, you're not able to get that message type populated. So why that is not getting populated? So the reason is, if you go to your WhatsApp message, this is your class, and if you go there, you have made this type as a type X, right? And your particular response is actually giving type, so you don't have any value on that variable. So how you're going to make sure you get that value? So for that, go to your webhook class. Once you get your response over here, right, before deserializing, what you have to do is you have to say a string final response, a string equal to, you'll say string dot replace. Okay, you will say replace. Okay, you'll say replace. We are going to replace type with type X. Okay, because the type variable we are using type X. Now it should be populating. So now we've just saved this. Let's quickly pick our phone and then send a message. It could be again a type of message, something image we wanted to test, right? So we just sent an image message. Let's see, first we'll check debug log if there is no such error. So there is no error. That means we will get our message over here in the object. So let's quickly go to the message. We got message number 4. If we see here, we got this image. Okay, we got this image type, we got this image ID, we got this image SHA. So basically we're getting every single thing over here, uh, but the message type we are still not getting. Again, there is a one last mistake we made. Instead of this response string, we should be deserializing this final response. Now if you test it, you would be able to see the response here. You would be able to get the type of your message. So this is basically how you create an object into Salesforce. You listen the webhook, you create the record into Salesforce. It has been a very long video. If you are still here, I really appreciate your time and really appreciate your patience. Thank you for listening me, being here up to this video. And if you are still here, thank you. This is it for this video. Thank you for your time, and we will meet into the next video. Thank you.